What were your first reactions when you did arrive in Vietnam? What was it like? What was the situation there?
Well, I was part of a transient. They put me in a transient company with everybody else. I was on a plane full of. It must have been 200 kids, 200 boys on the plane. Planes were coming in all the time from all over the United States. I was on a plane. I didn't go. The original basic training company went by boat. Those guys went on a boat, but I was alone by myself. So I went. So I got to Vietnam, Cam Ranh Bay. I got off the plane in Cam Ranh Bay. The minute I stepped off the plane, it was like 110 degrees with 100 degrees humidity. And they put us on a bus and they shuttled us to the holding company. The holding company put us in a barn and they were calling out. They gave us, like billeting assignments, room assignments. And you had to report to the holding company every day and they would assign you. But this wasn't units. We were all independent guys. So they would assign you according to your military specialty. So I was there for I think 4 days. If I think about it, 4 days. And what happened to me on the second day is an interesting story. So I didn't have any cigarettes left, and I didn't have any supplies left. So I wanted to go to the PX, but the PX at the holding company was only open at certain hours, right? But the PX for the base was open like all the time. So it was across an open field. So you come out of the holding company, you go across the open field, all the way down, maybe the size of a football field, and there's a PX that was open till like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. So I wasn't supposed to go. The heck with them. I wanted cigarettes, I wanted whatever. So I went, and I'm walking across this empty field. Now, when I tell you there are no street lamps, there are no lights. It's pitch black, pitch black. Right? The moon was out, so you could see something, and but the PX, you could see the light of the PX at the end. So I knew that it was the PX. So I'm walking, and I hear footsteps at my side. I look to my right. There's a guy walking next to me. This true story. So I say, "Hey, hi." I introduce myself. He tells me, his name is Cummings. So I say, "Okay, we're walking towards the PX. Oh, where you coming from? Where you doing? Who you are?" Blah blah blah. We walk to the PX. I go in, and he stands outside. He's smoking. I said, "You want to come in?" You guys, "Nah, I just wanted to take a walk." I didn't, I was already didn't know what to do. I went inside the PX. I bought some cigarettes. I bought some toothpaste. I bought some gum. I bought a magazine. I don't know. I bought a couple stuff. I bought a couple clock bars and a Baby Ruth. Stuff that I like. And I put it in a little bag. She put it in a little plastic bag. And now when I come out, he's standing against the building. He's leaning against the building and he's smoking. And I start walking back, and he walks back with me. So as he's walking back, I'm opening up this package of cigarettes, right? And I don't have my lighter, and I didn't get matches, because I had a lighter, didn't have matches. So I say to him, I turn to him, I say to him, hey, Cummings, you have a light? He says, yeah, and he flips me his lighter. Now I reach for it, but it passes over my hand into the darkness. Ah, God damn it! So I get down on my hands and knees, and I'm searching in the dark for this lighter. And before that happened, we were walking, and there was streamers, like streamers going the across the sky, white streamers. So I said, "Just to me, they're walking in the rockets." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, they come to rice paddies, and they stand up and they fire three rockets. The first one goes short, the next one goes in, and the third one is the last one. They try to hit something. They never hit anything, but those are what those are. They're walking in the rockets." I said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." That he takes it. This is what he tells me. It's okay. So that's what happens as we're walking, right? There's this rockets overhead, right? There's artillery in the distance, artillery thunder, muffled thunder, boom, boom, boom in the distance. It's so muffled. And then there's these rockets. So I'm searching. I'm on my hands and knees and I'm searching. And there's this bang, and he kicks me in the rear end, and I went flying like Superman. Hands first, my chafed my palms, my chin. I just fell forward. I got up. I thought he kicked me. Right? I thought he hit me. It was like that. It was like the slam in the ass. I got up. The motherfucker. I was going to kill him. He wasn't there. Now, there wasn't a lot of light. There was only the moonlight, right? So I'm looking around, looking. I can't find him. So he went back to the PX. He kicked me, and he thinks it's a big joke. So I go back to the PX. So you see this guy coming? He says, no, we didn't see anybody. So I go back to the company, and there's nothing for me to do. I got to get back, to get up the next morning. So I go back, go to sleep, and I fall asleep in my clothing. Right. The next morning, right, somebody's kicking me and tapping me on the foot. I'm sleeping. I get up, and it's the barracks. There wasn't a barracks sergeant, but there was a guy who went around to make sure that everybody was out in the morning from the barracks. So he says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh," he says, "You overslept." He says, "You better get going. Better get to the assignment building because you're going to be AWOL." I try to get up. I can't get up. I can't get up. He says, "What's the matter?" I says, "I don't know. I can't get up." So he gives me his hand and he pulls me up. The pain in my back. The pain in my back. Wow. Wow. It was like someone stabbed me. So he says to me, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know. My back." He says, so I take off my shirt, right? He looks and says, "Man, did you get into a fight?" He says, "Why?" He says, "Your back is black and blue." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Your back is black and blue." He says, "What happens?" I don't know. This guy kicked me. He says to me, "This is not a kick." Now, I don't know what happened. So I go ahead and he says, "You want me to go? You want me to take you to the infirmary, to the hospital?" I said, "No, I'm not going to any hospital." I put on my shirt. I went to the showers. I took a shower, got dressed, and I went to the assignment building. So I was in pain, but it didn't matter. I wasn't going to go to the hospital. When I'm at the assignment building, I don't get my assignment. If you didn't get your assignment, you went there for 9 a.m. You broke for lunch. You came back at 1 p.m. and then you were there till 5 p.m. And if you didn't get your assignment, you were free for the day. You went for dinner and then you came back the next morning. That was the routine. So I didn't get my assignment for the day. So I hobbled back to my barracks. I took a little nap. I didn't go for dinner. And then went searching for Cummings. I said, look through the barracks to see if I could find him. So I went back to the assignment company. I said, "You have a guy by the name of Cummings here." So he looks it up. He says, "No, we have nobody here by that name." He says, "Maybe he's here when he's gone." He says, "I'll check around for you." Okay, I'll check around for me. What's your barrack assignment? I give him my card. He lets me know. And then I walked back when it was daylight. I walked back to the PX to retrace my steps, right? And I don't know where that happened when he kicked me. I don't know. But where I thought it happened, there was a crater. There was a crater. There was a hole in the ground. And there was nothing there, just a hole, but it was like soot, like now I don't know the difference of anything, you know what I'm saying? But there was a smell. It's like when my brother and I used to fire rockets, like rockets. It smelled from that gunpowder, burned gunpowder. That's what the smell was. Oh, a rocket landed on his head. Yeah, why didn't it kill me? I have no explanation for it. So I went back to the holding company for the next day, and I'm standing waiting for them to be called, and two MPs come up, size of doors. You know, you the guy that saw coming? I said, "Yeah." I says, "Where is he?" He said, "I have no idea." "Where'd you see him?" I said, "So I'm on." He says, "Yeah." He says, "That man's been missing for 2 years. We have him AWOL 2 years. How can you have seen him?" "I don't know. I didn't make it up." "Well, he's not here. If you see him again, tell him to report to the MP." "Oh, whatever." Yeah, right. Right. So I'm searching. So now I'm there that day. Again, I didn't get my assignment. So I go back to the barracks. I'm searching the barracks, every building to see, because your duffel bag is tied to the back to the bed. It's like locked to the bed, and your name is on the duffel. So I'm looking for the last barrack These are two-story barracks. The last barrack on the ground, on the top floor, way in the back, there's a bed covered in dust and garbage and whatever. There's his duffel, Cummings. Cummings on a duffel bag. What the? What the? You got me, man. You got me. You got me. That next day, I got my assignment. So the next day, I got my assignment. That was it. Pack my stuff, get my pet, and I was gone. And I was on to my permanent duty station in Vietnam. Now, to make this stranger than it is, this is a true story. Now, remember something. It's true. Like he didn't exist, right? He didn't. I would say we were already. I was already there. Maybe 4 months, 5 months. Already involved in my unit. And um, again, what happened was they would walk in the rockets. We were north now. We were north. We were near the DMZ. So they would walk in the rockets. So now I knew what walking in the rockets were. And we would sit on the sandbags and drink and smoke pot and watch the rockets. It was every night fireworks. And the artillery batteries would be firing all kinds of trace of fire. It was like 4th of July every night. Now, one night I was taking a shower, right? A rocket comes in and lands. It hits something. In the base, it hits something. They got it right. So I leave the shower. I have a towel around me, right? I have my soap dish basically in a towel. And there's a bunker. So I go in, and the bunker is like, it has a path. It has a decline that you go down the decline, then you make a left and you go into the bunker. I go into the bunker and he's a bunch of guys playing cards. That's the card game going on there. So they're sitting there in their t-shirts and their underwear and they're playing cards, and I'm standing there, and the rocket. You hear the helicopters going in and everybody's firing. So I'm standing there. I say to a guy, I'm standing near the entrance. So I'm saying to a guy, "You got a cigarette?" He says, "Yeah." Gives me a pack of cigarettes. I take out a cigarette, put it back. He says, "How about a light?" He throws me his lighter, the exact same way that happened with Cummings, and it goes right past me and out the door. Right? So, I can't believe it. I don't believe it. And I look up, and who's standing there? Cummings. What the? I jump out, right? And the minute I jump out, a rocket hits the top of that um, bunker, and it collapses with everybody inside. I was standing outside. Sandbags fell on me, but I wasn't injured. There were guys nobody died, but there were guys that were injured. The rocket went straight on top of it.
So you're saying Cummings kind of appeared to save your life in a way?
I thought he was there, that he was proposing death. I always thought he was the angel of death. That's what I thought. Now, I saw him one more time in Vietnam. The last time I saw him was in civilian life. Okay, now here's where I knew who he was. I was a sourcing agent for the People's Republic of China. Okay, that's what I ultimately became. And I would fly to China, spend a week in China, fly to Taiwan, then I would fly to Korea, then to Taiwan, and then back to China, and then another week in China, and then home. I went 3 weeks. I went 4 times a year to do this job. Okay, and I went one time. I was very sick. When I left New York, I was sick. I had a bad cold, and the cold became progressively worse in China. Now, I was supposed to go to Taiwan, right? And then from Taiwan to Korea, from Taiwan back to China. I wasn't going to go to Korea that time. But I was so sick when I got on that plane. I should have gone home, but that's not my MOS, you know, do the job. So I had appointments in Taiwan. I went to Taiwan. I get to Taiwan. I go to sleep. I'm so sick. You have no idea. So sick. I get up the next morning. I'm still sick. I call the guy. I say to him, "Look, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I can't even go down for break. I'm so sick. I'm throwing up. I can't." So I don't meet him that day. So that night I call him and say, I'm feeling better. I'll see you tomorrow morning. So the next morning I go to see him. I'm still sick. I'm in his office for maybe 2, 3 hours. We're talking this, we're talking that. Can't go on. I can't continue. I just can't continue. I said, take me back to the hotel. There's no way I'm going to do this. You know what? I'm gonna fly back to China, get the rest of my shit, and I'm going to go home. I have had enough. Right. So the flight back to when I was in the hotel room that night, right? I decide, you know what? I'm not going to go back to China. I'm not going back to Shanghai. I'm going to go home from here. I don't care. I don't care. The hell with everything. I can't do it. I'm just so sick. I can't do it. I'm just so sick. So I call, my flight from Shanghai was Northwest Airlines. So I call Northwest Airlines and I say to him, look, I'm in Taiwan. He says, blah, blah, blah. He says, for $100, we'll change your ticket. You can fly. I said, when is the next flight? He says, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. I said, put me on that flight. I'm on it. At the airport, when I was at the airport, going to check into that flight for Northwest, this is important. When I looked at the counter, who was standing at the counter? Who was standing at the counter? Cummings. Holy fuck. I mean, so here's what happens. Here's what happens. So I get on that. I saw him. I ran to the front, but he was gone. It's my imagination. I don't think. I don't think it's. I think it's all. The psychiatrist told me, Jerry, you imagine the whole thing. I said, well, you know what? Maybe I did. But here's what happened. That flight from Taiwan to China crashed. Everybody aboard died. Now, that flight, I was supposed to go back to China. On that morning, I was supposed to go back to China. Now, my office had my itinerary, right? Here's where I am, the days where I am, right? So I I go to the airport. I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I go to the airport. I'm at there by 6. I check in, blah 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 blah, and I'm on that flight for like 7:25 or whatever the time is, and it takes off. Now I didn't call anybody to tell them I'm coming home because I was just so sick. And when that plane landed in New York, right? I left on a Friday. It got there on a Friday. I left on a Friday. It got there Friday morning. It got there Friday morning, right? Whatever the flight is, or whatever Friday afternoon. And I went to my apartment. I went straight to sleep. Went to sleep. I slept all day Friday, all day Saturday. Ate something on Sunday. Slept all day Sunday, and then Monday I went to the office. So I go to the office on Monday morning. I figured, okay, let me go. I'm not feeling okay. I walk in the office. The whole office stands up. You're alive. So what do you mean I'm alive? So they stood up in my office, and my associate says to me, "Oh, Jerry, Jesus, I made a terrible error." I said, "What's that?" He says, "I called your wife." My wife was living in my family lived in Canada. Huh? So I said, you what? So I called my wife. I mean, they went crazy. Everybody went crazy when I died. The whole business, everything, the bank, So I called her right away, and she got on the phone, and she was like crazy. She was crazy. I said, no. I told her what happened. She says, well, why didn't you call me? I said, I was so sick. I was so sick. I said, I just had to get out of there. I just like, and I never told anybody the story. Only when I was writing the book that I cut that. Now I thought that he was there to point the finger at that I was going to die, and he was pointing a finger that I was going to live. That confirmed it. At the end of the day, that's what confirmed it.
So three times where he appears out of nowhere and seemingly saves your life from a disaster event that's about to take place. I think that seeing ghosts, I guess you could call it, is a common theme in Vietnam because there's a song, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's called Camouflage by Stan Ridgway. And it's basically about this Vietnam soldier who's alone in the jungle, and he's got the Viet Cong coming at him, and he's all by himself, and he's trying to fight off these Viet Cong, and this big giant Marine named Camouflage comes out of nowhere and basically saves him. They fight off all the Marines or all the Viet Cong through the night, and in the morning, Camouflage is gone, and he survives, and he goes back to the barracks or whatever, and he's like, hey, where's this Marine named Camouflage? And they're like, Camouflage has been gone for like a year.
All I can tell you is that there isn't a story that you can make up. I don't care what story you make up. There's all these guys that have all these stories, and I read these stories, and you know what? There isn't a story someone can tell me that I don't believe, because the things that happened there, that's only one story about something paranormal, but there were others that were strange, just as strange. Um, was it my imagination? Was it something that I made up? Was injured and I had a head injury? Is it something that I think that happened? All I know is that there wasn't a day there that went by that wasn't traumatic. There wasn't a day. Forget about the direct combat. Every day was traumatic. Every day something took place. Every day something happened. Every day somebody died. Every day somebody got injured. Every day, every day, every day, every day.
That's awful.